What's up?
Sasha, how are we doing?
So good, so good that we're finally having a chat. I love
Oh,
it.
my goodness. Thank you so much for your time and patience. First of all, I appreciate the kind of back and forth that we've had to have. And, it was just kind of one of those things where scheduling wise was a little last second, but I was so excited and I really, really wanted to make this work. So thank you, first and foremost, for making this time.
Absolutely. And it's my first Instagram live ever interview. So
Okay.
first
Okay.
time. Yeah. This is a moment.
Cool, cool. Well, hopefully lots of fun and, kind of stress free, and allow us to be a little bit more, not so uptight and have to have the suits and ties on and all that and have some fun with this. So, Grafted, man, congratulations. I'm so excited. This Friday. What a cool moment, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it takes about 3 years from, script to production for it to come out in the world. So it's a big moment right now. Like very, very exciting. Let's just say it's being birthed into the world.
I know. And it's so cool. I mean, I initially was kind of hearing people with reviews, and that was like the first way that I was hearing this title. And then, some poster art was coming on, Shudder being attached. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I can't even really, find, and it hadn't been released. So that was the reason why, maybe there was a couple, because it was in festivals, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was made in New Zealand and it was
Uh,
first shown at the International New Zealand Film Festival. So, of course, there was like a second sort of outpouring, and then it just played at the Chicago International Film Fest and things like that. So it's been scattered around, but like Shudder is the big one.
Yeah, yeah. No, man, so cool. I mean, prior to digging into all of this here, I have a couple of questions here, and then I want to kind of go full bore into Grafted and, kind of talking about that. But, as far as yourself and growing up and what interests or hobbies, come to mind that held you and your friends' attention when you were coming up?
I think, I had a little alien club. We would, I think we
Okay.
were a lot. We would meet up at lunchtime, and we would like sort of draw. We had these sort of books that we all had, and we would have these character names for each of the aliens and which planets we belonged to. So I haven't changed that much, right?
Okay.
But
That's awesome.
like that's a weird thing. Like I never went to film school, so like it's
Mm,
always interesting looking back at like the path your life's taken and trying to like work out how you got here, right? Because
yeah.
I had a chip on my shoulder forever about not having studied film and like, oh, how can I show up in this world? Do I know what I'm doing?
Mm.
And it's funny looking back because I actually always had a camera. Like my baby sister, we got baby food, and me and my mum entered this competition back in the day. Back in the '80s when you would like
Yeah.
enter in competitions for things. And her baby food formula had a competition for a camcorder, and we won it. So like from five
Oh,
years old, I
wow.
had a camcorder and was just filming everything. And yeah, at university for my 16th, well, not university yet, I wasn't that bright, but like at 16, I got a camcorder. I was documenting all of my university years. So yeah, like filming things has always been kind
Oh,
of a part of my makeup.
man, oh man. Now, was this something that you had opportunity even in school to make a visual presentation versus, turning in homework?
Oh no, not at all. This was
Oh,
me just like going
okay.
around filming
Having
shit.
fun.
The worst part about that, like I have moments where I filmed my grandfather who was a survivor of the Gulag, like this most amazing vodka making crazy
Oh,
Russian
wow.
man. And I taped over it with weird nights out with
Oh,
my friends.
oh no. Oh, man.
So like he'll flash up on the screen and then immediately it'll like disappear to like me and my friends dressed up as cats doing weird performance art. So
Oh no.
gutting, gutting.
Oh my gosh. That is I mean, when we're young, some of the things that we do end up scarring us for the rest of our lives and we don't even realize it at the time. Now, something that comes to mind in watching this movie, and you know, we'll get into it a little bit later. But uh, does anything come to mind for you as far as all the years in watching horror movies or even film, an irrational fear that has developed from watching or reading, a book even?
Oh, I mean, for me, my sort of like genesis was The Ring. I
Oh
and
yeah.
Children of the Corn. Children of the Corn was the first one that like I lied about my age and like went to the VHS store and like got it out and with my friends. And I remember one friend we're having a sleepover and one friend had to call her like parents to bring her home because she was so scared. And my parents were like, "What have you done?" Um, but after that, it was like a couple of years later, and yeah, it was The Ring. I got it out. I went and saw it at the movies, and I was just so like taken back by it. I loved it, and so I went and got the Japanese version out on VHS, and
Oh,
went to my
okay.
friend's house. We watched it, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is so amazing!" So I went back to the cinema, watched it a third time, like watched the American version a second time, produced by Neil Edelstein, who actually ended up getting in touch with me in later years and like wanted to work with me and stuff, which was crazy.
Whoa,
Um,
no
but
kidding.
but yeah, I got home after watching it that third time, and I was so freaked out. Like I had to move the TV out of my room. I couldn't watch TV, like look at TVs when they were turning off. I just thought that this, woman was going to come through the screen. Yeah, and then after that, I was like, when I became a filmmaker, I was like, I have to make a horror film to just like exercise this fear. I need to like be behind the scenes and see what it's like to actually put it together,
Oh yeah.
because that lasted for a long time. I couldn't watch a scary film. Yeah.
I love that you mentioned too the American remake, because that is honestly still to this date one of the movies I go back to as far as a good example of a remake.
Yes.
Um, that movie, after watching, it just feels like something attached to you. Like it
Yeah,
was
and
not
yeah,
comfortable.
after watching it the second time, you noticed how much like detail. This is what really got into my brain was like between cuts, they would have
Uh-huh.
like peering images into the film of like a ring that would just like flash up. Like it was doing lots of hypnotic things behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, absolutely right. It kind of got under your skin, and they did a great job of being true to it, but like also giving it its own life.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I guess maybe this is a good transition into talking about getting in the skin with Grafted. And the new movie coming out Friday. I kind of prefaced this earlier with everybody, hopping on Shudder. If you don't already have it, it's $4 or $5 a month, people. Jesus H, and there's tons of great stuff. But then also premieres, like this. So something that kind of touched me about Grafted, it being a tale that reaches lengths that are beyond the everyday reality, yet resonate universally with adolescent struggles. And, when you were introduced to this material, what resonated with you about this story?
See, I was already like working on an idea that was a murder mystery, that was all around these sort of concepts of, you know, unobtainable beauty standards, and this rage that I was feeling, which was like, why the hell have I spent all of my youth giving a shit what everyone else thinks? Like,
Yeah.
seriously, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
40 this year, and I was like, God damn it, this is so stupid. And so I think, you brought up the substance. Like, there was obviously like a zeitgeisty kind of feeling because, these scripts and productions were happening at the same time, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
About like talking about those sort of significant stages of life. And I think like one is obviously, the early stages of like
Mm-hmm.
young womanhood, and the other one is the later stages of that. But I don't think that we've really like seen or discussed that in depth in the film world yet. And for me, it just like tapped so much into all of these feelings that I was having. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. And also like, don't we all know what it's like not to feel like we fit in, or to want to be somebody else, to like covet somebody else's sort of status or beauty. So it just felt really, really universal. I
Sure.
read it once and this is it. Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, the everyday, like I say, as far as you watch, something like this, and for the extent that it goes, it's like, holy shit, okay, this is absolutely insane. But the smaller foundation to this story and kind of elements with the disassociation and some of the characters and just wanting to fit in, and it may be our clothing, or it may be makeup, even different things like that. there are everyday things that are in this, to where that's the unsettling thing about horror to me is when I see something and it's like, this shit is around you every day. This isn't some like alien or some like giant shark, about to eat you or whatever. It's like, this is here and
That,
now.
I mean, that's what Smile did so well. Like when,
Yeah, sure,
yeah,
sure.
I mean, when you
Hmm.
take something as like a Smile, I mean, horror can have so much fun with that. I
Yeah.
think yeah, but I also think like Grafted and that kind of storytelling around this sort of like obsession with beauty and fitting in is really right for this time. Like
Hmm.
this Instagram world, this TikTok world, or rest in peace TikTok. It's like it, this is this sort of like crazy mirroring back to you of like what you're supposed to be and how you're meant to present yourself. So I think it's touching in on that as well
Uh-huh.
in a way
Sure.
that feels very like real for now.
Sure. Sure. No. So, I mean, something with there being multiple hands, as far as writing this movie. Is it Huiling? I don't want to mispronounce that. I
Whaling,
absolutely
yeah,
hate that.
whaling.
Huiling. Okay. Mia, Lee, and yourself, coming together and writing this. Was there like particular moments or impacts where you would kind of thrown in a suggestion? You're like, hey, maybe have this here, or was this overall a very, kind of universal outcome for writing?
Yeah, so it was Hueling's brainchild, and her and Mia wrote it together like one of those kind of like bursts of creative energy. And then when I was brought on, so how the New Zealand film industry works when the New Zealand Film Commission gets involved, which funded half the film, is
Oh, wow.
they expect the director to kind of do a pass and like really get into the nitty gritty of like what their approach is going to be and everything. So for me, it was very much like the script was already there, the gore, the satire, like everything that I loved about it. But so I didn't want to like take away from that at all. It was really just
Hmm.
coming kind of like going through the process of making it my own a little bit. And we brought
Okay.
in Lee Murray, who's like the most awarded horror writer in New Zealand. She's a Chinese New Zealand woman. She's written shitloads of novels, like everything. She's a crazy mind.
Oh,
And it was really awesome working with her as well for just like all the Chinese mythology and like thinking about, um, all those sort of cultural details that are imbued in the script as well.
sure, sure. And one of the things, I loved, and obviously I don't want to get into spoilers or anything like that, but was kind of the, mythos behind the fact of that maybe this was something that, that her and her Way and her father had been, had a curse, placed on them as far as the markings and such. And a lot of, Asian horror in general, there's a lot of things with, like that kind of lore or, oh, your family has been cursed. And I love that. That was like a whole other element. Was like, oh shit, this is gonna go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love is there's so many layers,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
yeah, hopefully it's the kind of film that's got like something for everybody and people can relate, for many, many different reasons. And that, was part of the sort of beauty of having these voices in the script, behind the script, because, you know, it could easily be surface. And I think if you want to just go in and have a really fun ride, you also can do that. But,
Hmm.
those
Sure.
are some things to go away and think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, bring us back to day one of shooting. What did that bring for you, fun wise and capturing?
Day one, so it was my first feature film.
Hmm.
So, I mean, like, anytime you do something for the first time, it is
Crazy.
so fucking scary. But also really exciting and all of that. And the biggest thing, I guess was like finding the voice of the film. And at first it was a bit clunky because it was like, oh, this word coverage, 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 coverage. It's very, very annoying. And and it's true, you need coverage to shoot a film, but we're like low budget, we have 25 shooting days, so we've got to find the soul and the heart and the visuals and everything. And that day one started a little clunkily. Like I was like, yeah, we're getting the shots, but I'm not feeling it. And it wasn't until I pulled aside the cinematographer, Tammy Williams, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, babe, this camera, like we've got to play with it, like everything we talked about. And so we just started like moving around, and it started floating through the scenes, and then it was the most exciting thing. And we shot actually one of the shots from kind of the end with the professor sort of sneaking into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the night we were just so stoked because we'd found our rhythm. So day one was really, yeah, like I think it can take people longer sometimes, and day one of any shoot is always going to be a bit clunky,
Uh-huh.
with a music video, a commercial, whatever. But yeah, that was a great relief because we all sort of left super excited about the world we were creating.
Oh man, that's so fun. Now, one of the things, that had stuck with me was in a moment, Joanna Sun's depiction, of Wei, and her kind of transforming from the soft-spoken to unhinged and believable threat. Can you tell us about conversations with her as far as developing this character and how we got to where we did?
I mean, I have to say that like casting actors is definitely the first port of call. Like I kind of
Yeah.
knew already once I like it was hard. Like you're not going to find many people who can play that range, and go from this sort of shy, introverted character to like literally sort of almost levitating, in rage and and at that age too. I mean, she was 17 and she lied on her like audition about her age because you need period to push it. And when I found out, I was like, I mean, she's way. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Life
really,
imitating art.
yeah, yeah. So really, like I knew already that she was the one, but like, for me, it was really about making her feel safe and comfortable to like do the performance, to go out there and be free in front of the camera. So we did a couple of rehearsal days for the whole thing, so not much at all. But one of the things was really about like trust building. To be honest with you, like all of us just like writhing around on the floor and screaming and just doing all sorts of weird physical performance, and like just kind of going, okay, this is okay, like none of the actors are going to judge you. I'm in it too, like I threw myself into it as well, like we're all in this together. And then it was like just unlocking like her sort of magic, because she's got the X factor. Like she is one of those like stars in the sky that you just like come across once in a
Yeah.
while. So
I think, from, like I mentioned, earlier, as far as, there is this real realistic foundation. And then as far as the story of a movie, it goes absolutely crazy and it goes nuts. And it's all the fun that you would want out of something, as far as, even paced, kind of introduction to a crazy finale. But one of the scary things about her performance for this was her doing these like mirroring moments that she's kind of, taking on characteristics of others. And, was there like conversations or different things that kind of went into something like that? Because that was like an unsettling, like, I don't like this type moment.
as the director, I would love to take credit for her performance there, but literally we were all behind the monitor like, oh shit, because I mean, it was all in her eyes,
Oh
like
my
that
God.
moment.
And her,
I think she
her
was.
like cutting and just being right back to, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to
No, no,
interrupt, but
no,
it was just,
go for
I
it,
was
go for
like,
it.
holy fuck, that's not natural.
Yeah, I mean, she could just tap into that. I mean, every time we did a scene, I would obviously go up to her and just like, talk to her about where she was at and like what was going on for her. Really, the job of a director is to ask questions and get the actor into the state of mind rather
Hmm.
than tell them.
Hmm.
And she knew she was an amazing studious actress, just like she's a studious person. And so she had notes, like deep notes in the scripts about what the character was going through, at each moment in the story. So yeah, that I cannot take total credit for that. She that was the magic of Joanna Sun.
Hmm. Hmm. Man, oh man. Yeah, it was just yeah, that's awesome. And hopefully at some point I could actually be able to, interview her as well and
Oh,
kind of dig
she
into
would
some of
love
this because
that. You
some of
have
the
to.
psych that goes into this, holy man. Like I said, and
Yeah.
a collaborative thing. I think that's a beautiful thing with me being able to have these conversations is for years loving film and then, digging a little bit more into the layers and how many people are involved with, even 2 seconds of a moment. So it's crazy. It's
No,
crazy.
I think you definitely should interview her. I mean, she tapped into something very dark, and I think from
Fierce.
a horror point of view, like how do you go there?
Yeah.
It's us. I'll
Yeah.
watch that one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. One other aspect was Lachlan Anderson's haunting, just sonic torture, I guess. There's certain moments where it's very simple in the score that it's almost just like somebody's like vocal effect, and then it gets into kind of some more extreme things. And as far as that, where was that happy balance of, how to score something like this?
Lachlan Anderson is such an awesome musician. So he had a band that was like really well known when I was a kid in New Zealand called Die Die Die, and
Okay.
great name, right?
It's awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
so I was already aware of him, and he'd got into composing, and so we were already kind of like we knew each other from the scene back in New Zealand, and so when I got chatting with him, I was just like, okay, the thing is, this was never going to be like your classic horror. It's got so many layers of like kind of genre sort of sort of smushed together, right? And so it was like, how do we take the haunting ideas? Like for me, I love the soundtrack from Under the Skin. It's like, how do you take those like
Oh man.
creepy strings,
Mm.
but then also like play with all of the thematic elements of this kind of like poppy, like almost high school culture, and bring it into this kind of like weird world that doesn't quite sit now or in the past or in the future. And so, yeah, I mean, it was his genius to kind of bring in these like really raw kind of like EDM, like grungy sounds into it that um, worked so well for that kind of like teen angst and rage. But yeah, from the beginning, we wanted to do something special. Like we wanted to make a soundtrack that people could listen to on its own. Like
Mhm.
I did that with Under the Skin. I'd like get super creative listening to it and like start painting and do so he's going to be releasing that next week. So
Oh,
yeah,
really? The record?
soundtrack, yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Sick. That is sweet. Does it have anything as far as like a physical release yet, or is this just like
No,
like a streaming
I mean
platforms?
we want to see it on vinyl. Come on,
That'd be awesome.
I'll
Man,
I'll
so
start a
cool.
Kickstarter if it is. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the cool things, like I say, there's like so many different elements, and I was trying to make this not a 3 hour conversation by just diving into everything, and also not digging into anything spoiling. But we have a world that we've created, and we have people and personalities. But sometimes some of the fun things to hear about are even just some of the small items and how maybe they were created or acquired. Like Way's father's notebook or the Chinese ancestral. How did those things come about, and was it something repurposed or completely created for this?
Oh, I mean, so that's Nathan Tade's realm, I should say. He's the production designer. He is the most insanely cool human being you will ever meet. He's a scent artist and he'll do DJ sets and blow like smells into the audience to like create some crazy visceral kind of like dance party. He's insane and he has so much attention to detail. But I can tell you that, well, the ancestral altar was, always in the script, and he just really, really went for it. And that was one that we had to like keep an eye on, because that means a lot. That's very, very
Sure.
significant.
Hmm.
But the book, Way's father's notebook, oh my God, it was like the biggest joy and the biggest pain in the ass because we did not just like do a few pages so you flick through it. He filled it with notes. He got a Chinese translator to write in Mandarin and like wrote all of these things, from scratch. The sort of, even down to the how it starts off kind of sane and then ends up in kind of madness. So the writing changes by the end.
Holy
And
shit.
yeah, it belongs in a gallery. The producer ended up, one of the producers kept it as his keepsake because he was just like,
Damn.
thing. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. That's when you really feel like going into those details when you make a movie is what brings me the most joy. Um, when and like anyone, like I love that you appreciate it and just notice that because like
Yeah.
that's when a film is really amazing is when you've got all these like Easter eggs that have been really thought about.
Yeah. I mean, the book and well, I mentioned both of those things because, like I mentioned, the ancestral. I mean, there's so much detail. There's so much kind of history behind something like that to where you want to have that right. And I mean, looking at it, it looked like it was very piece by piece and immaculate. And then the book. I mean, that was one of those things where there's a certain moment that her father is in panic and he's trying to flip through this thing, and it's like just pages after pages that are
Oh,
actually
draw.
filled. I mean, it's not CGI, and it's like, holy shit! Like,
I mean,
how did they do that?
going into the production office, the walls were just covered with like eyeballs, blood, guts, like and be sitting there like eating a donut. Just like surrounded by the most horrifically disgusting imagery you've ever seen. Grafting, skin grafting techniques. It was good.
Oh
But
my
hey, we're
god!
making a body horror, right? So
Hey, there is. What restraints in this shoot, may have complemented the final, product that we get of Grafted. I think it's something that we hear a lot of times, where budgetary is something, or but there's every once in a while where you have something that comes up that didn't quite work out, and a less is more approach. Does anything come to mind with any of that?
I mean the whole shoot. I
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I the whole thing was just like way, way, way crazy for the budget that we had in terms of like the amount of actors, the amount of locations, the amount of prosthetics. There's a dog. There's a burn victim.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, maybe want to pull it back next time a little bit, but I mean, hey, it was part of the fun of it all.
Mhm.
I guess that probably more specifically, there was a moment that I thought was going to be an absolute failure, and people ended up like cracking up a lot in it. Um, there'd been lots of floods in New Zealand at the time, so lots of cliffs were like no-go zones. Like we didn't have authority to go there. And I was like, we can't give up on the cliff scene. And so we
Oh,
managed to find
oh
the
yeah.
farmland with this kind of like I mean, you don't want to jump off it, but it wasn't a cliff, you know what I mean? And
Okay.
it was pretty freaky because, like it could have collapsed around us, and we had to kind of play with perspective to give it the height and everything that it needed. And what happened on top of that cliff, like we were so restricted in the ways that we could shoot it because we couldn't get super close to the edge. The actors needed to be safe, but I won't say how, but there was a death involved. And it's also during this makeout session that one of them, let's say, loses face, and that was so hard to film. Like it had just been pouring with rain, like we're there with a
Oh
crane
man.
and it can only do certain moves, and we're worried it's going to blow and smack people. So we had to just go for it and just like tap into that kind of like B movie, lo-fi. And I was like, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. But like in the end, watching it in the cinema with people, like people love that moment because it's just so raw and ridiculous,
Yeah.
and like the cinema like cracks up, and yeah. So I'm glad I fought for it, even though like it maybe it had to be done scrappily.
Sure. Sure. Sometimes it doesn't go quite as A B as you would like, but being able to pull it off, and having some of those moments, but also some of the moments that just go so much further and absurd. The practical effects in this, that was something that I just really wanted to just shine and glorify. Um, were there certain bits that were a little bit harder to make pull off, or I mean, it's even kind of hard because toward the end there was something where I was like, how the fuck did that happen?
We can't be specific.
The,
Which one?
well, I don't want to
Oh,
spoil anything.
okay. We can't. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Well,
Um,
this is your movie, shit. I mean, if you want me to, I just didn't want to put anything out there because I wanted to get this up on YouTube before the premiere on
right.
Friday.
Okay, well, no spoilers, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie, it was crazy. I mean, they're just like the budget versus what they had to achieve was insane. And of course, like body horror is this great, this great space to be able to play with, like, hey, a jar of jam if you have to. We didn't do that. You can
Yeah.
kind of get away with some sloppy sort of effects.
Uh-huh.
But really, it ended up being a very, tight bridge between practical and then post coming in and saving our asses.
Okay.
Because even just like doing the prosthetics of the faces, I mean, that was like a massive, massive task because, I mean, without
Crazy.
giving too much away, you've got three actresses who need to have, all of their faces in cast, and then many, many replicas of them. And so really we had to just go back to the story. Like, what are the things we're going to put our money into? What are the things we're going to make time for on the shoot day? And so things like, around the eyes,
Yeah.
around the face, these are all practical elements. And all I can say is there's nothing more fun than when it works. And like
Uh-huh.
I've said this before, but like when you know that it's not real and you're also like, almost vomiting
Turned off by
or cracking up or
it.
like whatever, you're like, okay, we got it. And then, like, aside from that, sound, massive, massive. I had lots of fun with sound. Sound will do amazing
Sure.
things. Um, and yeah, that was a part that we could be really free because all the shooting had been done. It's out of the way. We've got what we've got now. And then it's like, okay, let's crank this up. And yeah, my only regret after watching The Substance was that I wasn't able to crank it up as much as I wanted to. Like sometimes I was told to simmer it down, and I was like, no, see. But hey, first film, what are you gonna do?
Hey,
I'll wait till the third
know,
one and let's see.
that's yeah. I mean, was that like involved with meats, or I mean, I love that you bring that up because there was moments that I'm just like, God damn, this is disgusting. And there was times that I had to like watch it. It was late at night, not trying to wake up my family, so I had on my pad, my earphones plugged in. I'm just like, oh my God, this is fucking gross.
This is the magic of sound is that often it's something completely you'd expect it to be. Like a piece of
Huh.
work, it sounds kind of hollow and it sort of thuds and it doesn't give you any of the kind of texture that you want for something fleshy,
Uh-huh.
bizarrely. And yet the sound of insects and dirt, that is a good one. Anyone who wants to do some sound design, insects and dirt, go on YouTube and play some insect and dirt sounds. It's gonna blow your mind.
No shit.
Yeah.
Like like bugs moving, or what?
Bugs,
What do you
bugs,
mean?
yeah, bugs moving, like that sort of squelchy sound. It's it's unexpected, and that's sort of, yeah, that's one of my favorite parts is like finding these completely separate, like disparate ideas, and then putting them on top of an image. And you can put it on, it just doesn't work, and then you find the thing, and all of a sudden the whole image comes apart. Yeah.
What the hell? I've never heard that. Holy shit, that's crazy. Well, I mean, maybe we know what's if people already do know about that, then I guess that's the next thing, the big thing. But if they don't know about that, you're gonna be on to something. You might have to copyright that shit.
Go for it. The more the merrier.
Now, what can on the last day of shooting, what was accomplished there? Was this kind of like a shoot that was that was shot in succession, or what did the last day bring? I should
Oh
leave it
no,
there.
oh no, it was not shot in succession. It was all over the place. It's what you got to do with 25 days. But the last day we were really lucky because we got to shoot the scene with Wei and the professor in the house when she's
Oh, okay.
changed a lot,
Hmm.
um, and which is almost close to the end of the film. So it was
Hmm.
really satisfying. She's kind of gotten rid of her shyness. She's almost flying and levitating. I mean, this is where the Japanese horror shit comes out. Like, it was so much fun, and we
Sure.
were shooting right to the bitter end. Let me tell you, I'm saying we had like 60 seconds left on the clock, and I was just like, get outside, blood on your hands, you know, just like literally down to the moment that we had to wrap. I made sure that I got as much sort of extra stuff as I could, and then
Oh, wow.
yeah, and
Okay.
that was a really weird feeling. Like, wait, what? The madness is over? It can't be.
And you said 25 days
Yeah,
was the shoot?
yeah.
Wow, okay. Man, oh man. Holy. And what a feat, I mean, was there a little bit of a celebration, or what did that final day bring, for everybody?
Well, we were shooting night shoots, so it was probably
Oh,
like
oh,
4 in the
okay. I feel like.
morning. So we didn't do the usual wrap party, but me and Tammy Williams, the cinematographer and the camera crew, went back with the camera trucks and like cracked some bottles of champagne in the camera truck garage. They
Beautiful.
had this really cool little like I don't know, reminded me of being a teenager where like you have this back room with couches and it's just like surrounded with crap. We just fucking got wasted. It was great.
Just wrap it all up,
Yeah,
completely.
yeah.
I love
We
it.
did
I
it. We
love
did
it.
the like we did the proper rap party later, but this was like, yeah, we needed to unwind together as a group, and the camera department and Tammy were like my saving grace through the whole thing. They were amazing. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was really cool. We just had like booze stacked in the back of the camera van, just trying to back. It was great.
Did you end up keeping anything from the shoot?
I didn't. I mean, I'm based in LA, so I'd already like moved back to New Zealand for a year with a couple of bags of like all my belongings for every season that I might need, plus stuff to make films. And if anyone's going to go make a film in New Zealand, just a tidbit, take post-it notes with you because they're really expensive in New Zealand. It's bizarre. So I
Really?
don't know how many people are going to go to New Zealand to make a film, but so I didn't have much space, but I carried the film with me. I guess that's what I got out of it.
Sure. Okay. Sticky notes are expensive, really. Are there other weird things that just pop out that it's like, why is this $600 over here?
Oh, everything. It's an island, It's like it's
Yeah.
that island
Oh, okay.
situation where
Okay.
everything's a little harder, and I guess they have
It's not
tariffs
really a
on.
necessity.
It's not a necessity, but it's so
Hmm.
fun. You get to go to Target and go to the stationery aisle, and it's like every single piece of stationery you could dream of. It's my favorite.
Okay. That's awesome. Now, did you recently move to LA then, or have you been there for years?
I moved to LA in 2020. I was in the
Okay.
UK for 13 years. I
Okay.
lived a bit in Paris. I lived a bit in Berlin, but mostly in London. And then I moved here in 2020 to be part of a Women in Film mentorship program.
Oh,
And
okay.
then
Wow.
the world shut down. But I was like, hey, I think I'll stay.
Yeah. And then they shut down the airplanes, and you're like, well, shit, I think I have to
Yeah,
stay.
I, exactly, absolutely.
Now, I guess to wrap here, with the story that we have and some of the beauty and some of the not so much beauty and just overall fun, I can't recommend it enough. I've been having a lot of fun with telling some friends to check it out. With grafting, an element, of the movie left, there was kind of like a metaphorical feel, for women or men and our, constant strive of perfection and, and just keeping or finding confidence. And, yourself working in the film industry, what may have been some personal or professional advice that you've received, to help exude that confidence in a competitive industry like film? I know it's, for everyday things, but, I feel like film is just such a fucking hard thing to break through and kind of keep your head up for.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's going to be annoying. It's going to be annoying advice that I pass on. But it was my documentary Kamali that I really wanted to make, and it was my best friend and I, and she was producing and I was directing, and we'd like we'd found our subject, we'd already met the family, we knew that we wanted to go back to India to shoot it, and we were like, how do we do it? Like, because I came up in music videos, and then like had dabbled in a few commercials and stuff, but like I didn't know how like people fund films and stuff like that. And so she managed to find this producer who did the Amanda Knox documentary, and he met us for a coffee in Starbucks, and we were just like these like wide-eyed, like naive young filmmakers. How did we do this? Like, and he just said, "Wait, you want to go to India and film this documentary?" And we're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Just do it." And like, what? And he's like, yeah, like rent out your rooms, like use the money to fly you there and a few other people, like work it out, go do it. And we were like, what?
Wow.
It was the first time someone just gave us permission. Like we don't need to suck up to these people or get permission from that person. It was like, just make it happen. And it was the best thing that I ever did in my career, like it was nominated for a BAFTA, it was longlisted for an Oscar, like, and this was just me and my friend, like, going, okay, I guess we can just do it. She put her savings into it. So I will say, like, that was a big part of it. All of her savings. She didn't tell me. She told me
Oh my
later.
God.
Oh, I said I said I got this extra money from someone, but like, that was me. And I was like, what? But
Holy shit.
again, it was super low budget. Um, and yeah, I think that just doing it is really, really important. And I think, like, from my end, where we're at in the world right now, and the things coming out, I think you have to just be gutsy. Like, I'm definitely guilty of, like, when I first started, like, regurgitating a lot of the things that I'd seen around me that I was inspired by. But the truth of the matter is, anything that you do that is truly honest, like painfully honest, and you're so embarrassed and afraid to share it, that's the stuff that's going to resonate. And it's
Uh,
like, if you can
okay.
be brave enough to just put yourself out there, I don't even think it matters if you do a film on a cell phone. If it's raw and real, truly real, I think it will find an audience, and I think people will love you for it, because it's kind of our role to like to say things that people can't say. That's sort of art, right? Like,
Mm.
give people a lens with which to kind of reflect their own feelings and not feel so alone. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of like going into my like uber honest phase, and I'm excited because I think some really like great, disgusting, gory, exciting things can come out of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I normally don't, try to ask anything as far as advice or any of, those types of questions, because it comes quite a bit. And, you can watch or read an interview with somebody, but it particularly kind of hit with this just because of the content and, the kind of world that was in here and, building on confidence. And it made me think about, like somebody being involved in film and growing to understand the industry more. It's like, that shit is tough. Like, I don't understand how people make it. It's so competitive and it's so kind of cutthroat a lot of times. But I mean, bless you, you did it. Here we are, a couple days out. You got it coming. You got the movie coming out on Shudder. This is going to be absolutely awesome. And and then you is it Umbrella that's putting out the Blu-ray?
Oh yeah, yeah. How cool is that?
Such a cool edition. I cannot wait. That cover art, holy shit. Slight,
Yeah.
mildly, spoiler alert, but
Got to give people a little taste of what they're going to be expecting.
yeah, yeah. No, so cool. I'm very excited about that. Are there like commentaries, or I didn't see any of the special features?
Uh, to be honest with you, I haven't seen it yet. It's going to be sent to
Okay,
me at some point. So I can't tell you, but I do know that we
cool.
did do some interviews and stuff. So I'd be surprised if they don't include that.
Beautiful. Man, that is so cool. Sasha, like I say, congrats. This was so fun. I'm eternally grateful that we got to, sit down and have this conversation. And this Friday, Shudder, Grafted. I don't know what time it's going to upload on there, but have a lot of fun with it. This is absolutely ridiculous and yet heartfelt somehow.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, if anyone ends up, watching it, I always love to hear from people what they thought. So it's Sasha Rainbow on Instagram. So yeah, flick me a message.
Beautiful. I'll have this uploaded. I will get this up by Friday, just so, a little bit more kind of behind the scenes for when people watch it and want to hear some stories about it too. So, once again, thank you so much
Awesome.
for the time today, Sasha.
Thank you. It's been so cool chatting.
All right. Take care. Enjoy. I'll have.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.